Welcome back to the Patriot Party, where truth, transparency, and constitutional principles come before politics. The Patriot Party movement is focused on re-empowering we the people, restoring accountability, and putting America first through honest conversations and real solutions. Today's guest represents a powerful intersection of service, technology, and responsibility. JJ Parma is a retired Navy SEAL with over 2 decades of service to this country. Today, he serves as an ambassador for ZeroEyes, the nation's only AI gun detection platform with DHS Safety Act designation, helping law enforcement identify visible firearm threats in seconds while keeping a human in the loop. He's also the co-host of the Fourth Phase podcast, where he and his wife talk about purpose, resilience, and life after service. JJ, welcome to the Patriot Party, and thank you for your service in the armed forces.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis, it's an honor to be here. Anything that starts with the Patriot podcast is A-okay with me. So, yeah, this is awesome.
Cool. Absolutely. Well, then we'll dive right in. So you spent decades in uniform protecting this country, and now you're working at the intersection of AI and public safety. What made that transition feel like continued service, not just a career move?
So, great question. I bounced around. So with that transition, I really struggled, and I struggled probably where a lot of vets tend to struggle. Finding purpose, right? That word purpose is like a big deal for us, and it's almost used against us in a lot of ways. Like, you got to find someone with purpose. And so I did 7 years. I retired in 2017 after 21 years in the teams, and I did 7 years on Wall Street. And I really struggled to find purpose in that job, but I managed to. That was my kind of my code book. That was my mission statement, was to find purpose no matter what you do, blah blah blah. And so I ended up raising money for a large hedge fund in New York City, and I did it for pensioners. Right, a lot of our clients were city and county pensions, were state pensions, were unions, which is a whole another category of people that parallel with veterans. So I took that. I kind of had to dig into the job, this is where I don't think. I think purpose can apply if you can find it, right? So I had to dig into the job a little bit to, okay, is this worth my time? The last thing I wanted to do was make money for somebody else, which ultimately is what I ended up doing. So, but the last thing I wanted to do, regardless of that, I wanted to have at least purpose, that I could show up, wake up every day and go, okay, this is my job. My job is, and this is the way I defined it, at least on Wall Street, was I'm going to. Those people were made a promise, just like we were made a promise in the military. Like, if you make it to this benchmark, you're going to get paid for life. Oh, okay, keep your promise. Pensioners are the same way. They at one point took a job as a city worker, plumber, cement mason, whatever, the heroes of the trades world. And somebody told them, hey, you make it to this, you're going to get a pension. So that's how I looked at that job. What happened in Wall Street was the typical Wall Street non-fairy tale, and it ended, in power and money and politics. And I just ended up walking away from that job and leaving that world. Paycheck was great. Culture sucks. No offense, I have a lot of friends that still work on Wall Street, but that culture sucks, right? So you're in it for a paycheck, and then ultimately it dies out. And after I took time off in August of 2024, I took my first month of I thought about this, and I did a guest appearance not too long ago. I didn't realize, like, I never took time off from service. Like, I stepped out of uniform, practically had 1 foot in the civilian world, 1 foot with a boot on it still. And so then I finally transitioned over, but I took some time off, which was nice to reflect. And then through a weird SEAL connection through a network, it's pretty strong in the background. There's some of the benevolent organizations and what have you, and some of the networks that go on. Just kind of found an opening here in Texas for this company called ZeroEyes. Okay, what do they do? Well, looked into it, talked to them, interviewed with them, and then they flew me out to Philadelphia. Said, show me what you got. Went behind this skiff door, saw that this was about AI gun detection, protecting kids. The first thing you see is not corporations or anything else, although it's very relevant, especially after the Manhattan shooting. But what I saw was, why is this not in every school today? Like, what's the story? And then I was motivated right there. That was purpose enough, like self-service, helping other people. So I saw what they were doing, and I was blown away.
Absolutely. And you said something that I think a lot of people look over or don't realize. You said a few minutes ago, you said is this worth my time? And I tell my family this all the time, and I don't think people realize this. It doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk or if you're, the trash collector. You, no matter how much money you make, you cannot buy more than 24 hours in a day. So your most
Right.
valuable asset is your time, no matter what. Because no matter how much money you make, you can't have any more of it. It's
Right.
priceless. And people don't
Right.
realize that, I think a lot of times.
No, they don't. I agree.
So, when you look at today's threat landscape, what has changed most since your early years in the SEALs?
You talking about geopolitics around the world? We talking about in the United States?
Um, no, I think I was meaning more like the threat landscape within the AI. That
Okay.
you're like uh like within that AI question,
Yeah.
that you're at the
Yeah.
intersection of AI, but looking back, when you look at today's threat landscape through the technology and stuff, what has changed since your early days in the SEALs?
Well, so AI has grown. I mean, it's no secret, right? AI's out, and it's now taking off to a level where I've heard a couple people, very intelligent people in the tech world say, we can't see around the corner, like we don't know what the next move is. Whereas in the tech world, they usually plotted out their own moves 10, 20 years ahead of time, right? So we know we're going to control this thing in tech, and we can see where it's going. Once AI took over, now they're going in blind. I look at the technology, just technology wise. I look at radios. I look at things we used to carry. So I'm a pre 9/11 guy. So I came in '96, and so we were carrying around bricks for radios, batteries that weighed 12 pounds each. Weighed down to the. I used to be 6'4", now I'm 5'9" because I carried radios my entire life. So that's the running. That's the running. That's what I tell my wife all the time. And so, you look you look at that technology, and you're now the radios fit in one of those cell phone pockets that you have inside a uniform, and everything's smaller, tighter. The helmets, like we had the Darth Vader ballistic helmets, and now they have these high speed ops core, super lightweight, same protection helmets. Everything looks clean and crisp, and you're just shaving weight off. But that's in context to AI, which now has
do
just
you
blown things. Go ahead.
do you think that part of the reason that these people can't see around the corner is because there's somewhat of a silent battle going on between responsible AI use, which we're pushing, and we currently have a curriculum that is being piloted to 300 sixth graders right now. This is civics curriculum, and we can go into detail if you want, but it basically it
I know.
teaches the children they can opt in to use AI as an assistant. Teacher is the coach. And normally we have found that the AI allows the children to move at their own speed, which is normally about 10 times faster than they can move on their own. But the whole thing is response. If people are trying to, AI should enhance humans. It should not replace them. And I think we have, like, I don't know if you read that article the other day, but it was crazy. The guy in, Australia that invented the open AI code that all these companies are using for virtual assistants and all this stuff. So when he invented it, all these companies, they have these bots, and these bots are talking to each other. They got their own social media site, and there's 1.5 million of them so far, and they've invented their own language, and they're talking about inventing a religion named after the guy that created the code. And I said, that's scary. We don't want, that's Terminator stuff. We don't want it to have, it needs human oversight at the end. It should be here, not here.
Yeah, we never. So I was getting, and that's where I was. My long-winded explanation of where technology started and where it ends, especially in the military. But now you're right. So this is the biggest problem that I have with AI. That most rational people, we screwed it up with the internet. We screwed it up with the iPhones, like royally screwed it up. Right? These kids are. This is not a good situation we're in. Any parent who loves their child, who's given him a phone, and doesn't sit there and go, "I made a mistake," and is acting accountable for it is wrong, because we didn't take time to pause for all that stuff. But the American memory span is short. Like, it's this big. It's a week long, and then it moves on. AI is being let in at a rate that is just nobody's evaluating long term. Like, wait, let's stop. Right? Not unlike a military mission where we go over 4 courses of action and then say, hey, which way, what's the worst case? Where's the risk here? Where's the risk here? Then nobody's doing it. And now you're right. You've got people on both sides of the AI powerhouse. it's either going to be, there's nobody in the middle, by the way. It's either going to be catastrophic, and I think Elon was one of them. It's like, oh, it's great, but at first it's going to be catastrophic, right? That's not news that I want to hear. I don't ever want to hear that type of news. But you've got people on either side. Either it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, we're going to get universal basic income, which you and I know both is not going to work out well. And then we're going to have the left side of it, which is total catastrophic results at the beginning. Millions of people are going to lose their job, but we'll eventually, that there's no good side to this. And so, yeah, this is why ZeroEyes in particular, we put a human in the loop. There has to be a human controlling these strings.
Well, I mean, are you familiar with our AI enhanced federal policy producer, the software we built that we're scaling up for the people and to use as an education tool in our for competitions and for the okay. So basically, we have data points and guardrails, programmed into the AI. It's got to be constitutional, truth, transparency, all sorts of data points that that it won't go outside of. So it keeps us in the rails. But you can put in data points, an idea or a problem, and it spits out Washington formatted, ready legislation that is built off data, not donors. So we literally have created the first answer to gun violence that does not violate the Second Amendment. It's on our site. It was proof of concept. We did 8 bills as proof of concept. But see, we create them, and then we have a pipeline. We have an educator and advocator in D.C. who's a constitutional lawyer and a policy advocate or policy expert, and he reviews them. But we've got it tuned up so good that we've done all 8 bills, and he hasn't needed to edit it. Any of these complicated legislative bills, not one. And what's cool is we had a guest on the podcast. I built this federal policy producer software for our flagship legislation. I wanted to produce legislation that was ready for DC for a constitutional quality control board. All laws had to go through it before. Now, they could not reject the laws, but all findings were transparent. We were going to use it as an educational tool within because they would be published within the program that we were building. So then the guy comes on our show, and we already had the software built. And he's got an idea to replace Obamacare, save the American people $2 trillion a year. Crazy good idea. He comes on. We were going to theoretically fix something, but I'm like, well, shoot, email me the data points, plug them in. We do all the stress tests against anything out there, and this is the only feasible. It's actually in the top 3 bills with Thune and Johnson right now in D.C. to replace Obamacare because it was built on data, not donors. There's no special interest or anything. We're like, well, if corporations and special interest groups have had 24-hour representation in D.C. for a long time, in addition to the politics, why can't we the people have it for smart we the people legislation?
Yeah, and so what's the pushback? Like, what are you finding is the biggest hurdle here with this?
Well, I mean, there's been several hurdles, but nothing that, any startup that you're not going to have to go through. I mean, that's pretty much what you do all day as a CEO. You're a problem solver and you connect dots. What has been the biggest, things in DC move so slow. Like literally, here's the option. It's nonpartisan. Here's the stress testing of everything out there that's been done. It should just be, hey, this is a great thing for the American people, but it's not. They want to take a little piece of this bill and a little piece of this bill to make everybody happy, and then you end up with a bill that's unenforceable, that does nothing for the American people except for it wasted the tax dollars for all the hours to get passed.
Yep. Yeah, if they're not targeted, I've talked to Morgan Luttrell about this a couple of times in the past. If they're not targeted, and this is where it's so hard to be a congressional steward for your people. Well, first and foremost, you're for the people that you represent in the district. Those priorities should come first, and he's admittedly so. He's really into the job for his people. But there are times where it always comes to that road. You're not getting this for that unless you put this in, and then that counters whatever and then you end up in. Yeah, you end up in stalemate world, which is where DC lives, and so, yeah. But I wonder. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you: are you worried? So you get this, all the data, the left and right limits that you described. Those are coming straight out of the Constitution. You're inputting that data.
Everything is running, and not only is that programmed in, when you put in a problem or something, when it designs the solution, it learns from all the mistakes in the past. That's programmed in to have hindsight of everything that hasn't worked, so you can build something that does. We got some crazy legislation, proof of concepts on the website, and we're trying. When we scale this up, we're working on that now. It's a bit of a chore and it's pretty expensive. But when we scale it up, for the people, it'll be an education tool where we'll have a competition at the end of the year, middle school, high school. Whoever comes up with the best legislation for each state, they'll get a small scholarship, and then their legislator can decide if they want to take it up in DC. You know, and you'll have parents and kids solving problems, kitchen table discussions, becoming legislation that they can, you know, that benefits them. But in turn too, it's also going to shoot us every idea that answers a problem that has been in the last 2 years of news cycle, and we can use our pipeline to get behind it. But one thing that's unquantifiable is passion. And you may be passionate about something. It may take you a lifetime to get that change implemented, which is unfeasible for us. But we want to give you the information and the technology to do it.
Right. No, that's good. That's good. And where do you stand? So where do you stand on these AI schools? Because I heard about one in Austin, Texas. That's like blowing up.
Peter Thales, you know, I'm in Louisiana. You're right next door. So Peter Thales, he's done a bunch. It's called the Alpha School. It's kind of what gave me the idea for the civics curriculum. But see, the curriculum now, AI is not mandatory. So basically, in middle school, they get given historical topics. In high school, they get given, you know, kind of hot topics that are being debated in the news cycle now. Once they've been trained in civil discourse and how to debate. The teacher facilitates the debate. One team gets the living document side, the other team gets the originalist document side, and these kids start to see what resonates with them at a young age. Plus, there's media literacy in there, so they can start to identify media misinformation, so we can do better for the next generation.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, it's a dangerous game, though, because it's all how it's handled, right? So we don't know who's inputting the data. But I can tell you Alpha School is exactly the school that I visited down in Austin. They were looking at our technology for ZeroEyes. Makes sense, right? Protect these kids. What I saw when I walked in there, I don't know if you've been in one, but I was blown away. Why? What's good? These third grade. So first of all, the building is not a traditional classroom, which traditional class is my opinion. That whole skeleton needs to be broken up. They've done nothing to change it since, you know, God knows, early 1900s. So I walked in there and it looks like a tech company. You think you're in like mini Facebook, right? So you walk in, you go, whoa, it's 3 levels. It's all open, office space, just like a tech. And there's tables over here. The guy walks me through and he says, look, what are these kids doing over here? And I said, I was like, wow, that's not a classroom. There's no desktop computers. These guys are studying. They're done with their classes for the day. This was about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, just before lunch. He goes, they're done with. They finished all their curriculum, their education curriculum, math, science. That gets done in 2 hours on AI programs. He goes, these kids are scoring. Now I don't have the data for this. I haven't seen any of it. I just took it for word. And he's looking at these kids and he goes, they are scoring near perfect SATs on their curriculum. If they started the Alpha School or they come in late, they don't need to spend time. They're getting it all. And I can't
see. I think the problem is, see, you got a lot of people that want to reject technology. Well, technology is not going to stop. We're in the information age; it's going to come. I think what we need to do is embrace it, but we need to embrace responsible use of it, and that's why we're implementing it at a young age to teach responsible use from the start. You know, for the new generation.
100%. That's just it, and that's the point to ZeroEyes. But to finish off with the Alpha School, what they were doing at the time was learning, and this is what intrigued me the most, because if you can cut out time, wasting time with education that's not valuable outside of whatever they need to learn for the basics, these kids were doing. He said they're in 3rd grade doing financial statements, profit loss. They understand P&Ls. They look at and I go, wow. Can you imagine if you had an accounting?
It's funny you say that, because after we roll this out, it's going to take 5 years or so to roll it out. But after we roll this out and finish with the pilots and start a nationwide rollout, we're going to try the next curriculum. We're going to try to line up in middle and high school is going to be like an entrepreneurial AI assisted curriculum where the kids, I know everybody doesn't want to start a business, but if you know the runnings of them and HR and all that, then you know how to maneuver through them. Even if you are a worker, you know how to be more productive within the business and within the company. And then at the end, you know, they can use the AI to do the mock up, you know, businesses with all the analytics and all that stuff. So I think that
you're right.
I haven't put any pen to paper on that yet. It's just in the back of my head.
No, it's a great line, because now you're not worker bee, right? You're not school worker bee, which is what it was. Now you're worker bee with the knowledge, which makes you, sure, maybe I don't like this company. Now I want to go leave and start my own company. But how about this? How about just finance alone? How about a child in 6th grade understand? I didn't know shit about finance, dude. Like,
Well, we're going to have
nothing.
finance in the entrepreneur class. We're going to
Critical.
combine a lot of them to fall within state standards. I've talked to a
Just
few
basic.
education people huh?
Yeah, just basic finance. We don't
Yeah,
get
just
that
basic
until you're
stuff. Which my daughter, they got that in class now. It's so funny.
That's
She's
great.
actually the school that's teaching the curriculum that I wrote, or they're starting to teach it in 2 weeks. Uh, they're teaching. She's in 6th grade. They're teaching it to her 6th grade class. It's her
Nice.
school that's the pilot program, but she's learning about amortization on houses and interest and
Dude.
all that stuff in the 6th grade. I'm like, man,
Couldn't even spell the word when I was in 6th grade. Amortize. What does that mean?
right? So I got another question for you.
Go ahead.
All right, so we've kind of touched down on this. We're just going to kind of dive in a little bit more. So AI is being sold right now as either like the savior of society or the end of it. So from your vantage point, what is AI actually good at, and where is it dangerous if we get careless?
So just like I said, AI is really good. Okay, so here's an example from ZeroEyes. So I give these stats. I just gave 2 in-persons in Houston and Dallas over this week. And here's the stats. So 2023, the company started 2019. In 2023, we were starting to spread, starting to grow post-COVID. You know, we were in all verticals, industrial, commercial, you name it. But schools were a big one. And so in 2023, we had about 523 true positive detections. That means our system on already existing camera infrastructures was detecting 523 true positive real gun detections. Okay, that most of them would have never gone noticed. We started to scale and grow and big. So in 2024, we had over 1,500. Okay, yes, we're going on more cameras, but what does that tell you, right? As we spent last year, we had over 2,500 true positive real gun detections that would have never been heard. You wouldn't even know they were on your property if you were a property owner or your campus or your facility. No idea. But AI is catching it now. Okay, even at in the darkest hour in the middle of the night somewhere. Okay, so this is where AI could come in. No human can see half the guns that get picked up on our system anyway. It's amazing when I show a demo in our true detections. I have some detection photos. So that's the great part about AI. It's filling a gap that's necessary, especially in the gun violence world. So that's what it's doing good. What it's doing bad is attracting bad state actors. And so the problem is it goes right to your point about responsibility of AI. We've got quote unquote competitors, and a competitor these days with AI is anybody who wants to get into AI. So they'll come up with these analytics on their own, blah, blah, blah. We can do gun detection too. We can do it at half the cost at ZeroEyes. Okay. Do you have a human in the loop? No, we don't have a human in the loop. Who gets the alerts? Well, it goes to your phone. Okay, stop right there. I tell everybody, give me 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes, right? This is where AI is going to go. The last thing, and I use a school as a reference, but it counts in an oil and gas or some big industrial commercial facility. The last thing you need to do is get 85 different analytics, behavioral assessment, flashy lights, smoke detectors. You think you're going to look at that phone all day every time an alert goes off? When you get an alert on your phone and you're during the work hours of the day, it better be an emergency, right? A real true emergency. So this is what AI is ruining for everybody. The next best thing, and people can't even keep up. I mean, how many AI assistants are there that join your Google Meet? I got yelled at one time because I had too many assistants. I had to cancel them all.
I don't use them.
Yeah, it becomes more of a burden than anything else.
Well, I feel like AI is good to keep us on the rails, like to put up guardrails. So, we say we're building data solutions to re-empower the people. So, we have these constitutional guardrails. Well, you can say we've gotten off track. Even our politicians being able to debate things, and over the years, it doesn't matter if you have human or legal training or not. You have human emotions, and
Right.
that causes us to muddy the waters and pull away from the Constitution. And I feel like the AI it takes the human emotion out of staying in those guardrails. But you still have the human here before something comes, but it keeps us in the guardrails, because human emotion, I always tell my daughter, she trains MMA 5 days a week. She wants to be an MMA fighter at 11. She trains 5 days a week. So I always tell her, when she gets in the ring, I said, look, you have to stay calm because you cannot think clearly if your mind is clouded with emotion. Same with our politicians, same with everything. And I think that AI can help us take the emotion out of what we need to have the emotion taken out of.
Right. You think the same thing for nuclear war, though? If AI was
no, well, I mean, AI. No. But that goes against having the human. No, I think AI could give us a breakdown, of a stress test and all the and unemotional all the facts, and then the human decides to push the button or not.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the human. It
needs to be analytical, so the AI can't even get into it.
There's also morality.
Or not analytical, but you know what I'm talking about. Not digital, but oh gosh, where you have to plug the cables in. It's not HDMI when you're hooking it up. It begins with an A. It's not analytical. It's I look at analytics. When you're hooking electronics up.
Analog.
Analog. Yeah, I knew it was analog. Yeah, that needs to be on analog technology away from the internet, the push button.
Right. Yep. No, I agree. It's exactly my point. That's the point, right? So because there's so much moral, there's moral decisions. Some of these decisions that get made, ultimately, you're right. It should stop at a human. It should say the human should say the buck stops here, at some point. But you're right. For the simple things, I'll tell you, you're right. AI is great. Used it for, if somebody's using it, we used it for family law. Let me tell you how good it is for family law. Family law.
Oh, I know how good it is for law.
This is family law too. So this is kangaroo court.
I've used it for several different kinds of law. It's good.
Yeah. But for family law, there's so much emotion involved in decisions and then bad moves and just over the top, just reactions. I'll tell you, AI has been great at stop. It'll even tell you stop. Here's the facts. Takes the emotion.
Well, I always say, AI is like a child that knows everything but doesn't know how to do anything. And you have to teach it. It wants to please you, and you have to set those data points, or it can take you, kind of take you out in left field a little bit. You have to set those, in your canonical, data points. You have to set those. Do not let me outside these lines.
Right. Yeah. And that's the prompting piece that a lot of people aren't getting either. They're just using AI as Google at some point.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people think AI is Google. And I'm like, no.
I know. And this is what happens. And it zooms off and it becomes this thing for everybody that's all knowing.
But I think a big problem too is, and I've said this when I was talking with another AI venture capitalist some months ago, but it's the media too. They like emotions. They like knee jerk, and they always publicize what I'll call the super villains that are using AI like they shouldn't. And they don't publicize the superheroes that are going behind and using AI like it should and doing great things with it.
Yep, run into it every day. We have an anti-AI guy in Florida where we picked up a detection that was a clarinet being used as a gun. It's a longer story, but ZeroEyes picked it up. Everybody was super happy with it. The context from the human in the loop. That's not how the story came out. As soon as they got in Florida, it turned it around, put some AI picture. I mean, it was total fake news. It caught like red-handed, and they even used an AI-generated vision of this girl just holding a clarinet with a dress on. Like that's not at all what happened. And so, yeah, you have these naysayers that are immediately going to come out and say, worst thing since sliced bread, worst thing since sliced bread, get rid of it. AI is dangerous. So yeah, we have to contend with that, and you have to be ready to back it up and stand tall. Which is what we do at ZeroEyes almost on a daily basis.
And a lot of, like you said, the media. I can't wait. The first part of phase one funding is for the AI, but the second part of it is, and it won't happen until the end of this year, or the first next year. We're building a streaming news channel called Truth Matters News. It's going to be on Roku, Samsung, Amazon. It'll simulcast out on social media, and everything's going to be fact-based, independent tested, no rumor mills, no partisan. Everything's viewed through a constitutional lens. Now, we may have debates with constitutional lawyers, living versus originalists, but it's going to be through that lens.
Interesting. Topics like abortion.
I didn't. Huh?
Topics like abortion. How's that going to come out on your? How do you set guardrails for that? How do you put guardrails in place?
Just facts.
Just based off Roe versus Wade. The lead. Okay. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
just the facts of what's going on, and then we may have a debate between the two different versions of what you believe, and have that. But it's got to be fact based through constitutional lens. I mean, I didn't even realize these people who make these clips when they're videoing things, and they sell it to the news. They break it up and they sell whatever goes with their agenda. Like they'll sell the multiple pieces of the same clip to different news channels because it goes with different agendas. And it's crazy. We just want the facts.
Yeah, I know, right? It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. So I got another question for you. This one kind of goes around the Constitution because, this is a constitutional first show. When you introduce AI into public safety, and especially in schools or public places, what constitutional boundaries have to be respected? Do you think of Fourth Amendment concerns, due process, overreach, false positives? I mean, where is the line between security and surveillance?
Yeah, so surveillance, the data collection, so I'll speak to Texas only right now. Big deal.
Okay.
We advertise too right up front. We are in compliance with FERPA rules, right? So schools appreciate that. We do not collect facial recognition data. We don't store the information for children. Like if a detection comes up, because we don't have access to live camera feeds. We don't want it. We don't need it. All we get are the detection photos that come from the cameras. They're still photos. They have accurate description of people, but we block out faces if we're going to brief somebody or use one of their detection photos. But we don't own that data. The client does. State of Texas won't even allow facial recognition, nor should they, right? Wherever you fall with that. So we try to stay within the bounds. We're kind of agnostic. We follow the law, and we don't really need the data that people think we do. So we're not tracking people. We're not storing a database of names and faces, especially when the kids are under 16. So it's so
you put up guardrails for yourself not to step over the line.
100%. Yep, 100%.
Okay, and we don't. Let me ask you this.
And we don't infer on the Second Amendment rights either, right? So Texas is a right to carry state. It's concealed. I'm concealed 99% of the time. I carry a gun wherever I go. We don't detect concealed weapons. We don't want to. We'd be getting alerts every 5 minutes, right? So we don't need to. All we need, when that gun gets brandished on public property or a commercial site, that's usually never a good thing, right? 99.9% of the times, it's not. It's nefarious in nature. So that's why we detect only brandished guns.
Huh. Okay, so how do you prevent AI tools from becoming tools of convenience for government expansion?
Oh God, how do we do that? if you have an answer, I'd love to hear it because
I think I can get AI to give us an answer.
Yeah, I can ask AI. You can ask AI. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It needs to be something that we look into.
Well, we need to be reducing government. All it does is create. It really is going to create another department of AI, and then it's going to be the Department of AI oversight, right? You laugh, but it's coming.
No,
right? So
you're right.
We're going to end up expanding. We're going to end up expanding government, and more government jobs, and more now data centers. Who's going to run the data centers? There's
because they're going to make more tax money. I mean, you got trillions of dollars coming in now. Yeah, they're going to expand government with that money.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. No more tariffs coming in. Apparently, I don't know. Apparently.
So, you mentioned veteran-led innovation. There's something powerful about veterans moving into technology leadership. Why do you think veterans bring a different ethical perspective to AI?
The easy answer. It's the culture. The culture of the vet. The public-facing, public servant type character. Sort of like law enforcement, veterans. When we throw our sales guys out into the field, I don't even like to call us salespeople because these guys aren't selling you anything. They're literally going in there with a mission statement saying, hey, here's this. We want to protect these people. What are you going to do about it? And I'm not, we're not going to sit there, selling you snake oil all day long. You can see that immediately in the culture, and it hits right away at a school system. I've never shown up and had somebody say, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. We don't need it. It's always budget. It's always money driven. It's always whether they can afford it. But they stay in touch and they stay in the pipeline because they like the fact that we run a military operation because that culture, they know that it's, this is a no fail. It's no fail up in our ZOC, our operations center up in Philly. That's the human in the loop that takes that detection photo and dispatches it, right? They're the one hitting 911, like the nuclear button. Okay. And so that culture, we're 85% military, about 240, 280 employees now right now and growing. And so they keep that culture there, and you can just tell it's so much easier to work with these people. Like, it just is. It's like I missed my team guys for 7 years and didn't even realize how much I actually missed them until I went to Wall Street, where it's about what's in your wallet today, and if it's not enough, they're gonna stab you in the back. Watch that knife in the back. And so yeah, it's a terrible culture, and it doesn't bode well for young 20-something-year-olds that get out of college and want to go work in finance, and now they're selling, hundreds of $1 million products to somebody, and that's your life. Like, how much did I make last week? That the only metric is how much did we make? How much did we make? And so, there's no replacement for a military style culture, and it's awesome when vets get to see that their skills translate over to the real world, right? Because it's a critical thing when you're going to a veteran-owned company or a veteran heavy. You go to a veteran heavy company, you can feel it. You're like, oh, I was worried about transition because of my skills, but my skills fit in great here, whether it be tech or engineering or whatever. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. Been a great transition.
Okay. So public safety conversations, they often get emotionally charged. And fear drives policy. How do we build a culture of readiness without building a culture of panic?
Yeah, it's like I said, in my world, there's nobody there are no stakeholders who don't see the value in what we do. And if they push back, it's always monetary and budget driven. Like I said, it's a no brainer that this should be mandatory. Why there's not federal funding in place right now to put this in at least every public school, right? Because they've done nothing about they've done nothing in 100 years about gun violence. Like, how many school shootings have we, and then it's on the news for 5 minutes, disappears. Nothing gets done on Capitol Hill because they can't. They fight. 2A comes in, and
that's why you need to look at what we. That's why you need to look at what we popped out.
Yeah.
We actually did it in real time when there was that mass shooting up in New England or something. I was like, this is ridiculous, but there's got to be an answer. And it popped out a wonderful answer that does not violate the Second Amendment, which is crazy. I don't see why the politicians should fight over it.
What was it? What was the answer you got?
It's a public safety. I mean, we've done 8 bills, and these things are complex, so it's really easier if you just go to the website. But it's a public safety bill, and it basically has the groundwork to identify people that they identify later and say, oh, well, we should have done something. But if they have a gun, and I haven't read it in months. I mean, I popped it out a couple of months ago with the thing. But if I'm not mistaken, the way that it doesn't violate the Second Amendment is they're identified and they lose their gun rights for up to a week. It has to be heard within a week in front of a judge. And but it's not for anything. There's all sorts of safety things in place to keep it constitutional on the other end as well, not just the Second Amendment, but due process and all that as well. I think, as a matter of fact, I think in the name it's the Public Safety and Due Process Act or something. It's got a bunch of acronyms. You know how they spit those things out.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm in a different place because we're trying to do prevention. So this is actually, we're looking to get it at first sight, not first shot. And so we want to keep
this is prevention before the shot. This is and I would have to pull it up, but this is a way to identify the troublemakers before they actually act on it. Because most of the time when they go actually look back on it, the FBI finds out, well, they've been posting this and this and this on social media. But it's a way to identify them and then stop them without violating the Second Amendment.
When you say stop them, are you stopping them from purchasing a weapon? Is that what it is?
You are stopping them if and like I said, I hadn't read this in months, and I only read it once or twice as like a skim before I sent it to the policy expert because it looked good to me. So if they're identified, and I don't have all the details, but if they're identified, then they lose their gun rights, but it has to be heard within I don't think it can go longer than a week. It may not be that long. It may be 5 business days. They cannot lose their gun rights for an extended amount without going before a judge and being represented and saying, wait a second, you had no right to take these. Or, the other end saying, wait a second, this person's getting ready to do this, 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 and this. That's why it's a Public Safety Act. It's a Public Safety and Due Process Act. So it is to stop them before it. Yours is to stop them when you see it. This is to stop them before they bring it to the event.
Yeah, the world that I live in is not criminal record or anything else. This is a maybe trans-identified shooter who is 15 or 16 years old who has no record. There's no prevent. There's no identifying. He's getting a gun from somebody else or somewhere else. So these are unforeseen measures right now, right? So there's no way, and they're walking into a school and they're starting to shoot people up.
Yeah, there's no way to stop everybody. I mean, you're going to have bad actors. You got 330 million people. Right. You're going to have bad actors.
This is my point.
All we can do is the best we can do with what we have to work with.
Right. And my point is what we need is public safety funding, because these schools can't afford it. They're just saying no because they can't afford it. If they had the money, we'd be in every school. That's the type of public safety prevention we need, is a funding mechanism. And everybody would think it's in place. It's not. But we can, go over to the Ukraine and test our new weapons over there if we want to. We could do all that stuff. But how about $100 million for the schools, $30,000 a pop, get their schools protected, right? Get ZeroEyes on every school. What's the downside? What's the downside to that investment? Zero downside is the answer. Only upside. That's an investment. That's a tax I wouldn't mind paying. Okay, my tax dollars go to that. Right. So that's the world we live in right now.
What if and this is just an idea, I don't know all the ins and outs and the intricacies, but so the company that does the AI the tools that you have, it's a for-profit company, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So the way we have it structured is Civic Truth Media Group is the parent company. It is the for-profit that builds all the tools, that creates the curriculum, and then it licenses it. So there's a clear separation of powers, a clear separation there. It licenses it at fair market value to the nonprofit, the American Institute for Civic Leadership. What if y'all had a nonprofit that bought the equipment from y'all and was able to get grants from some of these billionaires to put it in the schools? And don't worry about the federal government.
Yeah, very, very interesting angle. And we look at grants all the time, and we actually help people. The schools write the federal grants for them. But that's an interesting. It's an interesting structure, an interesting concept. I would love to talk.
It would be a way to allow you to because education right now, that they're cutting out a lot of funding federally, pretty much because it's through the states. So it's kind of I had to look at it outside the box as well. So maybe something you just have to look at outside the box to figure out a way to do so you can get into the systems and get paid.
Yeah.
And it looks really good on the financials if you have a nonprofit that is contracted to continue to pay the for-profit. That's like a residual income, But anyway, so I got another question for you. So the more we automate, the more humans can disengage. Is there a risk that AI tools create moral outsourcing, meaning we rely on the machine instead of vigilance? And where's the balance?
Well, your first comment, the more we automate, the more we can disengage. So I just read a study the other day that's the exact opposite, which I actually came up with this on my own, because I knew by using all these fancy tools, it's actually creating more work. And the way it's doing so is now you have tools that are automating things that would take usually an hour down to minutes. So now you're jamming in even more. So the expectation of productivity with your bosses is going to rise exponentially. There's no way around it, right? So it's actually creating more work for people, unintended consequence, right? Now you're squeezing in an hour's worth of work.
But they can do more work in less time, right? I know I'm very productive.
Right. We keep adding, but then how do you fill that time? Your time's not going to be disengaged at work. Work owners are going to just jam in more. Then you can do more. You can do 3 times more now that you have AI, right? That's not I don't think that's a healthy way to go.
It's not a healthy business model. See, and I've said this before, and one of the things about our software is we have program to take greed out of capitalism. See, Ronald Reagan said trickle down economics, but what he failed to factor in was greed. It would trickle down if you didn't have so many greedy
Right.
people on the way
That's right.
down. So,
Right.
so I mean, you said it, and I had a guy on a Fox News guy that came on about that did some wrote a book about the education system and how they in Baltimore. I think Trump actually, when he signed the executive order for education, this guy's a Fox News investigative reporter, and he mentioned him and talked about the study. It was in Baltimore schools, so they went up. They were giving Baltimore schools $1.3 billion a year. They went up to 1.7 or 1.8, almost 500 million more. So they went up 38%, I think he said. But the graduation rate only went up 1%. And when they go to them, the people they it's more about the adults than it is the kids, because they hired another 1,700 adults, but it's no more proficiency with the children, and they won't cut funding because then that goes into the political parties and the unions and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, if they won't cut funding, then maybe we need to figure out how to make our funding more efficient so we don't have to give any more in the near future.
You and I both know when funding cometh, it never goes awayeth, and so it has to be paid
Nope.
for one way or the other. It's like a government job. Once it's created, you can't uncreate it, and it's like it's a shame of the system. It's a broken method.
It really is. So if we get AI right ethically, constitutionally, transparently, what example does that set globally? And if we get it wrong, what example does that set?
If we get it wrong, then it opens up critique of the United States for sure, right? So other people will take advantage of our mistakes and then make excuses for expanding AI's powers or you know, expanding its reach. But if we get it right, we set the stage. And I was just about to tell you, you know, what council's in place right now? There may be one. I haven't heard of it. I've been watching what is in place right now that's actually checks and balances for this stuff. There's little committees. Maybe now there's AI committees, but what do we have in place? Who's the where is the checks and balances to make sure we are doing it right? Right? All these things are already in place and already in like working, and now to put something in place, I just said, like it's the very beginning of our conversation, we haven't gotten ahead of this, and we haven't even tried. People are just like deer in a headlight. They're like, oh, here it comes. Now what do we do? And so,
well, you know, we always play catch up. We always play catch up, and it always goes. If you look back in history, it always goes from one extreme all the way to the other. The pendulum never meets in the middle. And so I hate to see, you know, what's gonna come down the pipeline, because, like I said, they're gonna continue to publicize the bad, you know, and not publicize the good as well, or flip it around like what happened when you were, you know, in Florida, and they left out the human loop that is the final decision. It's really not AI. That's why I say AI assisted legislation, because the AI doesn't come up with the idea, the AI doesn't come up with the data points, the AI doesn't come up with the problem. You know,
right.
So
right. Yeah, you really have to get it.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Florida piece is a perfect example. You really have to internally in your companies, you have to be ready for you have to be. It's almost like the crisis response team. You have to have a CRT over to the side, ready to answer the call with the correct answers to correct. That's the only way to beat the media these days. Like, come right after them, and just your marketing has to be good, and your responses have to be good.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, actions speak louder than words anyway. You say what you want, but your actions will speak for you, and your purity of purpose will speak for you. So if you could speak directly to parents, veterans, technologists, and lawmakers right now, what would you want them to understand about responsible AI and public safety?
What I would say is study the protocol, study what you're about to put in, right? Make sure you understand the system that's going in place. Please, please, please take a look at both sides. What are the downsides? Even if you can't see them all, take the time to do that drill, right? That simple little task. Whether you're a committee, whether you're a public office, whether you're a civilian, stakeholder, superintendent, whatever, CEO, do the drill, right? Don't just say yes. Do the drill. What is the pluses? What are the minuses? And ask the company. That's the first thing you should be asking. When I go through the door, it's like, why wouldn't I have this? Why should I have this? Take a look at it. Don't make a snap decision. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be, what's the term that they use? Paralysis by analysis, right? You don't have to do that stuff.
Okay.
But take a real look at every protocol that comes your way, because it's going to start coming at a rate that, to quote the president, you've never seen before, right? It's going to come in at a rate you've never seen before. He said that for everything. It's like, stop saying that. All right, but really take it seriously. Like, don't disregard AI. That, to your point, don't disregard AI just because it's AI. Take a real honest look at it. How can this help our organization? There should be a standardized spreadsheet for this. Like 5 questions, the 5 W's of AI. If you're not looking at them, right? And I don't think they're in place. I don't think people are. They think that, oh, well, we don't need this. Well, we don't need it. How do you know? Have you looked at it? Have a board meeting. Have a useful meeting instead of a useless meeting. Sit everybody down, go through the room. There's nothing like peers, right? Poking holes in things, just like you do a military debrief. Just make sure you do that. Because I think there's some goodness. There's definitely some goodness to it. And you're right. We're not stopping it. The train has left the station. It is gone and rolling at full speed. And so you need to just be concerned about the decisions you make regarding AI and technology in your businesses.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice for everybody. Is there anything that we missed before I close out the show? Is there anything else that you want to say to the audience?
No, but yeah, don't get lost. Don't get lost in the AI either. Don't forget. This is going to point more to my 4th phase mantra. Don't forget the people around you. Don't just stop. Right, stop and live in the present, and stop looking at the future all day long, because you just end up looking at a looking glass all day long if you're not present. So take time out of your day, and we have our little cups. So make time for love. Like, that's my wife and I's secret to
make love, not war.
That could be your kids. That could be your spouse. That could be your partner. That could be whoever. Right? Just don't forget, because every day that slips by is a day that you waste.
Love it. JJ Parma, thank you for joining us and for your service both in and out of uniform. This is what the Patriot Party is about: truth over narrative, gratitude over entitlement, and empowering we the people through honest conversation and real solutions. America first, not America only, because we lead by example.